Hello, this is Storybooks channel. New videos are posted every day. Subscribe and click the bell.
Why are you getting so hot and bothered so early? Your Ethan won't get away from you. Aren't you afraid he'll turn to her? He'll find out sooner or later. Do you think Kathy will stay with you? I doubt it. We'd both be fools. What am I supposed to do then? Drown myself? Why should I live without him? Wait, drown yourself. Daniel thought for a moment. There must be a way out. There is. Olivia lowered her voice to a whisper, looking around. And you'll go all the way out? What do you want in return? Olivia wiped away her tears. Nothing. If this case works out, we both win. I get rid of the problem, Kathy stays with me, and we can raise our children happily. And you get what you want, and you get to keep your marriage. Also make sure I never see you again or hear from you or your husband. You don't have to worry about that. Just how do I get it all to happen without being seen? I'm sure we can do it. The woman has regained her spirits. What am I supposed to do there? A class reunion. Kathy pondered, trying on one dress after another in front of the mirror. It's been 5 years since we last saw each other. They'll start reminiscing again, telling stories from their school life for the 105th time and laughing at them. Why? This is probably the best one. She decided on a strict dark blue dress made of a thin, shiny fabric. The woman pulled a matching scarf from her dresser drawer and deftly tied it around her neck. She added earrings, a ring, shoes, a purse on a thin leather strap, and spun around in front of the mirror, assessing her reflection. Then she sat down abruptly on the edge of the bed and moaned. I'm afraid to go there. I don't want to meet Ethan, and he'll be there. Lisa had warned me. Why rake up the past? And what's in the past? A youthful crush. But it's been years. Right. She jumped to her feet, tossing back the unruly locks of dark hair. I'm calm. I'm going to meet my classmates. All feelings are in the past. I just want to see the guys. Oh my God! She covered her face with her hands. Who am I trying to fool? The young woman flinched when she heard the phone ring. Kathy? The cheerful voice of a friend sounded. Kathy wrinkled her nose. Where are you? Everyone's packed. Get a cab. Come right away. Kathy didn't have time to answer as the phone buzzed, and she sighed, dialing the number of the cab. From the open windows of the cafe, music was pouring out. Former classmates were standing on the porch, smoking, talking, laughing. What are you celebrating? The driver asked, glancing at her in the rearview mirror. He smoothly stopped the car at the very entrance to the cafe. Homecoming. Kathy sighed. Have a good time. The driver smiled and stepped on the gas. Kathy paused for a second, gathering her strength, and walked towards her classmates. She was very worried. Her heart was racing. What had he become? She thought of Ethan. How will he meet me? She was scared and frantic to see him. The cafe was stuffy. Lisa rushed over and dragged her to the tables. I've been saving a seat for you. Sit down and have a drink. Kathy warmly greeted her classmates, exchanged a few duty phrases, but her gaze involuntarily slid around the hall in search of the one who made her poor heart flutter. He's not here yet, joyfully informed her friend. Who? Kathy asked, blushing. Ethan, you're looking for him, aren't you? I'm not looking for anyone. I'm not looking for anyone. I'm not interested in him at all. At these words, Lisa laughed and shook her head. It's stuffy in here. Shall we go and get some air? She headed for the exit, followed by the others. They stood on the porch of the cafe, exchanging meaningless phrases. "Oh, girls!" One of them was surprised. "Who is it that drove up in such an expensive car?" "I don't believe it." Kathy turned her head and saw a big black Jeep, which dashingly drove up and stood in the parking lot. "Holy cow!" the other girl noticed. "It's Ethan himself." The girls were talking animatedly, and Kathy's heart raced when she saw a tall, broad-shouldered, handsome brunette in a light business suit and model shoes, smiling and spreading his arms wide, walking toward them. "A man can't be so handsome." Someone laughed. "A rich groom. Do you know if he is married?" Asked the first beauty of their class. "When has having a wife ever stopped you?" The girls laughed. "I don't know anything about him at all. He may be a father of many children." "The first dance with me. Please do not borrow." As they exchanged jokes, the girls ran off the porch and into Ethan's arms. "Hello, Kathy." Ethan smiled broadly at the girl. He hugged her and kissed her cheek. "Hello, Ethan." The girl trembled at his touch. Goosebumps ran down her body, and she blushed, embarrassed by his proximity. "Why are you so excited?" She scolded herself. It was just a kiss between former classmates and nothing more. But she realized that nothing had been forgotten. She was still attracted to him. "Girls," Ethan proclaimed cheerfully, looking around at everyone. "You're so beautiful, come on. I want to drink to you." The girls, laughing, followed the young man into the hall, each wanting to be closer to him. "Well, what are you doing like you're not alive?" Looked back at Kathy friend. "Catch up. I'm coming, I'm coming." The girl sighed and went into the hall. The evening was a great success. The young people were having a lot of fun. Kathy's heart sank when her gaze happened to meet Ethan's. He talked to everyone evenly, not singling out anyone for attention. "What are you, like a taut string?" Her friend interrupted her. "Distracted, relax, drink champagne, smile. Everything is great. Let's go dancing. Stop sitting around the table." Lisa dragged Kathy into the circle as light music began to play. Kathy made an effort to put on a smile, and Ethan was right there. "Kathy, I don't recognize you." He shouted in her ear, the loud music making it hard to talk. "You're even more beautiful now. I've been thinking about you." He pressed his lips to her cheek for a moment. Kathy was silent, her heart ready to jump out of her chest at the light touch, the skin on her cheek burning. She felt a silly smile spread across her face against her will, but she couldn't help it. She wanted to be with him like this all night, dancing in the darkened room. A slow tune began to play. "Would you like to dance with me?" Taking her hand, Ethan asked. "No," Kathy breathed out, her legs shaking as she felt his hands on her waist. She felt his hands on her waist and winced when he leaned over and kissed her cheek or temple, or pressed her against him, or leaned away from her and stared at her in admiration. The girl didn't notice how jealously her classmates were watching them. "Ethan still has a crush on you." Playfully, Lisa remarked as Kathy returned to her table. "Don't make that up." The girl blushed. "It's just a dance." "Friends," announced the host of the party, "our evening has come to an end. I say goodbye to you and wish to meet in the same composition in the next 5 years. School years have passed imperceptibly, leaving an eternal trace in your memory. And no matter how much time passes, I hope you will remember each other. Goodbye." The guests slowly began to disperse. Someone, having said goodbye, left alone. Someone had already found a company to continue the evening elsewhere. Kathy shuddered as she heard Ethan's voice behind her. "Can I walk you out?" "Why?" She was surprised. "I don't live far away, and how would you do it?" You can't drive when you're drunk. We'll walk. The car is parked at the cafe until morning. Nothing will happen to it. Shall we go to the embankment? I don't want to part with you. Don't say no. He took her hand, pressed it to his chest. When else can we be alone like this? All right. Kathy gave in. Her sixth sense was chiming in, warning her not to accept the invitation, but she didn't heed it. A long-standing crush drowned out all reason. Why do you need a backpack? Ethan pulled the backpack out of the car and slung it over one shoulder. I think we could use it. Smiling enigmatically, Ethan said. They walked slowly down the embankment. Even silent next to Ethan, Kathy felt good. Let's go down to the river, shall we? The young man suggested when they came to a staircase that led down to a narrow strip of beach. Remember when we could sit here until morning and make out? He gave her a hand, helping her down. There under the bridge was their hiding place, protected by the concrete slabs of the boardwalk and the base of the stairs. We were teenagers, chilly. Kathy shivered in the fresh river wind. I'll warm you up. I've got this. Ethan solemnly pulled out of his backpack a blanket, a bottle of champagne, 2 glasses, and a box of chocolates. Remember when we used to sit here like this after the last exam at school and drink champagne? So much water has passed. Thoughtfully answered the girl, sitting down on the carefully confused plaid. I remember almost nothing. Why are you deceiving yourself? The young man deftly opened the bottle, poured the drink, and handed 1 glass to the girl. I see that you remember everything perfectly and have not forgotten how we loved each other. Don't flatter yourself. She took a sip of champagne. Then we were children. Today we are different. I couldn't have been wrong. Ethan said heartfelt, taking the glass from her. Look at me. He turned her toward him. The same look, the same feelings. He kissed her lips lightly. I realized today that I missed you, our conversations in front of the moon. He kissed her again, making her lose the remnants of her mind. You said it right. We are different. You are a woman. I am a man. We are attracted to each other. Why can't we give you pleasure? Ethan put his arms around her, laid her down on the plaid, and began to cover her face with hot kisses. Kathy hardly remembered how she had found herself unclothed in front of him, embarrassed by the intense, greedy gaze. I want you. He looked at her questioningly, as if asking permission. Yes, with one lip, the girl answered. They made love, and in between they drank champagne. Heated, tired, they lay side by side, open to the night sky, warm June air, and admired the awakening of a new day. I'm ready to spend my whole life with this man. Kathy dreamed, snuggled against Ethan's warm side. We'll have a big house and 3 wonderful children. He's so handsome. The girl rolled over onto her stomach and looked at the man affectionately. I love you. I still love you. You are the only man in my life. I am grateful to you for that. I didn't expect it, honestly. I thought you got married a long time ago. I've been faithful to you. I didn't meet someone who could help me forget about us, but things will be different now. That class reunion turned my life upside down. I realized I didn't need anyone else. I wish I could take it back, but I won't let you go anywhere else. You're mine. She pressed passionately against the man's naked body. Listen, Kathy. Releasing himself from her embrace, Ethan sat up. There's something I need to tell you. Tell me. The girl closed her eyes dreamily. I'm ready to listen to your voice from morning till night. Forgive me. I realize I've treated you like an asshole, but I'm married, and I'm about to have a child. A satisfied smile slowly slid off the girl's face. She didn't immediately realize what he had said. Married how? Well, married. I've been happily married for 5 years. I respect you very much and am grateful for tonight, but there will be no affair between us. Then why are you here? It's my fault, I admit it. Everything that happened between us is a mistake. I couldn't resist the temptation, the wine, the night, the beautiful woman, the memories of my youth. Anyone would, but that's it. Walk me home, asked Kathy, hurriedly getting dressed. She was disgusted with herself. Did you take offense? Ethan stood up, starting to get dressed as well. We're adults. We had a good time. Admit it, you had a good time with me. But it was a mistake. Muffled, Kathy replied. Her heart was torn apart. In 1 minute, all her dreams had been shattered. She berated herself, cursed her gullibility, and wanted to get home so she could get under the shower, washed herself off his kisses, his touch. At home, standing under the hot water, she cried she had never felt so bad. Kathy went to bed and couldn't sleep for a long time. How could he have done that to her? Daughter? Kathy heard. Come to dinner. I've cooked some fish, just the way you like it. You should eat well. You've been so pale lately. Kathy went into the kitchen, inhaled the smell of fried fish with pleasure, and suddenly clamped her hands over her mouth, only just managed to run to the toilet before she threw up. Then she stood in the bathroom for a long time, leaning over the sink, trying to cope with the spasms that came to her throat. Her hands, her legs were shaking, and her already pale face was waxy. Kathy, are you pregnant? Looking suspiciously at her daughter, Wendy asked. Yes, Mom. Hiding her eyes, the young woman admitted. That's good. Rejoiced the mother. Have you told Daniel yet? What's Daniel got to do with it? Kathy asked tiredly. It's not his baby. How could it be? Wendy stared at her in bewilderment. Who is it from? Really? It suddenly hit her. Did Ethan knock you up? You shameless girl. Did it all work out at your high school reunion? You cheated on a guy like that. Are you going to chase after Ethan like a dog again? Didn't he get on your nerves enough in high school? Even so, I love him and I don't want your Daniel. And he's ready to marry you. No, he's married. His wife's expecting a baby. I won't break up a family. I don't have the right to do that. And you keep quiet. Does he have the right to break up your life? Who'd want you with a baby? Have you thought about it? What will people say? You're stupid. You're in your 3rd decade, and you're still smart. Calm down, Mom. Kathy wrinkled her nose. I'll pick up the baby myself. Kathy. Wendy sat down beside her daughter and took her hand in her own. And you marry Daniel. Say it's his baby. It's not due yet. No one will know but us. Don't make it up. The woman snatched her hand out of her mother's grasp. I'm not going to start my family life with deceit. Daniel is not a fool. He will suspect a lie, because we have not been intimate. No. Mother spoke with determination. I won't leave it like this. He must answer for everything. Mom, don't you try to calm down. Your mom, unfortunately, cannot help. The blood clot has broken off, and this is instant death. We got there, but it was too late. Is that how it happens? In despair, looking at the nurse, asked Kathy, swallowing tears. She'd just been talking, laughing. It happens. I can call someone to come and support you. You shouldn't be alone right now. Yeah, I'll make the call. With unresponsive fingers, she dialed Daniel's number. He arrived almost immediately. What happened? The man stepped aside to let the strangers who were carrying Wendy's body out of the driveway. Yes, the woman was dead. One of them answered, Daniel. Kathy rushed towards him. Mommy's gone. She snuggled into his shoulder and sobbed. "Will you stay with her?" asked the doctor. "Yes," Daniel answered, hugging the inconsolable Kathy. "We gave her a sedative. She should sleep and come back tomorrow to do the paperwork." Later, Kathy could hardly recall the events of the following days. Daniel had taken care of all the troubles. He supported the young woman, was always by her side, organized the funeral and the wake. Kathy did not understand what was happening. She felt in a kind of prostration. On the day of the funeral, when everything was over, the young people were left alone in an empty apartment. "Daniel, thank you." The woman looked at him gratefully. "If it hadn't been for you, I don't know how I would have coped. It all came at once. Do you want me to stay with you?" "Yeah, I can't be here alone. I know I have to get used to it, but I can't yet. It's so empty without my mom." Tears came to her eyes, and she looked at the picture of Windus with the black stripe on the frame, but Daniel pulled her to him, hugged her. "Don't cry. I'm with you. I'm here for you." They stayed like that all night, hugging each other, falling asleep and unnoticed. "Let's go for a walk?" Daniel suggested at breakfast. "You need a little distraction." "I don't want to." Picking at her plate with her fork, Kathy replied, "I don't want to see anyone right now." The man looked at her affectionately. "That's what happens when people leave. We're all guests on this earth. We all have to go sometime. Wendy's gone, but we're still alive. Who's going to feel better if you sit alone all day? Do you want to get sick? Mom wouldn't praise you for that. Come on, pull yourself together. You don't understand." Kathy said in despair. "We had a fight with her. I yelled at her, and then she got sick. It's my fault she's dead. Our quarrel triggered the seizure." "Don't talk nonsense." Daniel frowned. "You read the report? The clot broke off. It could have broken off earlier, it could have broken off later, but it would have happened anyway. There's no way to control it. What's the point of blaming yourself for something that's not your fault? You're so good." Kathy looked at him gratefully. Daniel had surrounded Kathy with such care and attention that she felt involuntarily attracted to him. "Kathy." One evening the man confessed, "Do you know how much I love you? My love is enough for the two of us. You're alone and I'm alone, marry me." "Daniel, I'm very good to you." The woman raised her eyes to him. "And of course I'm ready to marry you, but before I do, I want to confess something." She was silent for a moment, gathering the strength to make her confession. The man looked at her with a smile. "Daniel, I'm pregnant." "What?" He tensed. Kathy could see his cheekbones set. "Who's the lucky guy?" "That's Ethan, my classmate. I could hide the pregnancy from you, but that wouldn't be fair. You've done so much for me these past few days, I just can't keep quiet. If you leave, I'll understand. I love you too much." After a long silence, Daniel spoke. "That's why I'll take your child as my own. I'll never reproach you with a word or a look, I swear. I just want to be with you always, but I have a favor to ask. Don't ever tell anyone it's not my baby." "Promise?" "I promise." "Daniel, I don't know how I deserve this kind of love. Thank you for being there for me. I couldn't have done it without your support. So much has happened, so many changes in my life. I've lost my way. I really need you." Kathy said, and she believed her words to be true. "So you'll marry me?" "I think we're in too much of a hurry. Mama's just been buried. What kind of wedding can we have? We'll get married in a year." Daniel said sensibly, "In the meantime, we can have a quiet marriage. You don't want the baby to be born fatherless, do you?" The last argument finally dispelled Kathy's doubts, and she agreed. A couple months later, they were husband and wife. The woman's pregnancy had been difficult, and she hadn't left the hospital in months. During the night, Kathy woke up to a sudden twisting in her stomach. The sharp pain made her cry out. "What happened?" Daniel asked sleepily, waking up immediately. He turned on the light and saw his wife's pale face contorted with pain. "Has it started?" "Yes." Barely catching her breath, Kathy replied. "Hang on, I'll call an ambulance. And you breathe, breathe." He quickly dialed a phone number and called the medical team. "Can I help you get dressed?" "I don't feel well," the woman complained. "Don't be afraid, my dear. Everything is under control. We'll take you to the hospital, and the doctors will help you there." Daniel quickly dressed himself, collected his wife, and put out the bag he had already prepared for the hospital. When he heard the doorbell ring, he rushed to open it. "Where is the woman in labor?" Entering, the doctor asked businesslike, "Something you pale. Can you walk?" "I'll try." Daniel helped his wife up. "Ouch!" Kathy cried out, writhing in pain and clutching her stomach. "Stretcher!" shouted the doctor. A stretcher appeared, and the woman was laid down and carried into the car. "Doctor?" asked a worried Daniel. "Is she going to be all right?" "Don't worry, Daddy. She'll be fine." The car drove off, and Daniel went to the hospital after it. "Where's my wife?" he asked the girl nurse in the emergency room. They took her to the delivery room. "You're going home. There's nothing you can do for her now." "No, I'm staying." The man sat down in a vacant chair. He couldn't find a place to sit. He stood up, paced the hallway, trying to pull himself together. "Are you Kathy's husband?" The doctor came out of the door. "Yes," rushed over to him, a worried man. "Your wife's unconscious right now, and the labor's severe. You must authorize a C-section. Unfortunately, she can't. I don't want to live without my boy. Where is he?" "I want to see him." She sat up abruptly in bed and looked at her husband with distraught eyes. "Let me hold him in my arms." "Calm down." Daniel looked at her anxiously. "You're not yourself right now. I buried our child. You don't understand." The woman clutched at his arm. "I want to see him. Let's go to the cemetery and open the grave. I'll only look at him with one eye. I want to memorize his face at least. Please, please." Tears were streaming from her eyes. Her lips trembled. She was shivering. "Nurse!" Daniel ran out into the hallway. My wife was hysterical. A nurse came running, followed by the doctor. Sobbing Kathy, they put her in bed, gave her an injection. She burst out, screaming, begging for the baby, her head throbbing on the pillow. After a while, the woman fell silent, sobbing pitifully, and then fell into a troubled sleep. "You go home," Daniel, the doctor, advised. "She'll sleep until morning. You'll have a hard time with her at first." "It's all right. I'll manage. It's a good thing she hasn't seen the baby. She'll forget sooner." But the doctor was wrong. Kathy didn't want to forget her baby. When she was discharged from the hospital 2 days later, the first thing she did was tell her husband to take her to the cemetery. There she fell on a small grave, wrapped her arms around it, and sobbed bitterly. "Olivia, I'm home." Ethan threw the suitcase at the threshold and went into the living room. "Where are you, darling?" "I'm back. I was so afraid I wouldn't make it back from my business trip in time for your delivery." "Here's our daddy back." Smiling Olivia came out of the room with the baby in her arms. The woman's eyes shone with happiness. "How? Already? Why didn't you tell me you were going to have a baby?" He frowned. "I would have come right away. I wanted to be there for the birth." "Sorry, our son didn't want to wait for you to come back. Won't you give me a kiss, darling? Don't you want to see our baby?" She handed the baby to his father. "How tiny he is." The man said, taking his son in his arms. He looked at the boy with fondness and tenderness, then kissed his wife. "Thank you, my love, but next time I'll never leave you alone before the birth." Ethan leaned over his son. He was so preoccupied with him that he didn't notice the shadow running across Olivia's face. "Why so sad, friend?" Lisa sat down across from Kathy at the cafe table. "What's wrong with you? Why are there tears in your eyes? Are you moping? I've been saying for ages, stop killing yourself over your firstborn for another. It's been a long time, and you still can't calm down. I wouldn't wait too long if I were you. Aren't you afraid your husband will leave you? He's such a good-looking man. He'll be hitched to some pretty girl before you know it. Did you go to the hospital?" "That's what I wanted to tell you. The doctors say I won't be able to have any more children." The woman said sadly, "The labor was hard, then complications, and that's it. I can't get pregnant again. Is that the final verdict?" "Yes, I've had every cell examined, but the result is the same. I'm infertile." "Why, Daniel? Does he know?" "No, I don't dare tell him. I'm afraid to imagine his reaction. Do you think he'll leave you?" "I don't know. I don't care. I don't think I love him. After I lost the baby, he and I became like strangers. I don't see him much. He's got his own business. He's at work all day. I'm alone. Why do you live with him if you don't love him? It's a real hard labor. If I were you, I'd have gotten a divorce or a lover long ago." Lisa winked at her friend. "What are you talking about?" Kathy waved her away. "I couldn't even think of such a thing. I'm grateful to him for being there for me in my time of need. He's been there for me. He's been there for me. He's so good. He's easy and simple. He does everything for me. You can't get very far on gratitude. Are you really going to spend the rest of your life feeling indebted to him? Doesn't he know you don't love him? Aren't you afraid he'll find someone else to replace you? Look at what you've become like. You've completely neglected yourself, walking around like a shadow. Your husband's a businessman, and you're not groomed, wearing dark clothes. I can't remember the last time you smiled. I can't remember it myself." The woman sighed heavily. "The house is empty, no one to talk to. I don't know where Daniel gets his angelic patience from. Isn't it time to shake things up a bit? Why don't you and I go out and buy you some clothes? You're a young, beautiful woman. Don't you want to look stunning? If my husband allowed me not to save money on myself, I would have already collected a collection of clothes from the most expensive fashion designers. I'm happy with what I'm wearing. I'm not really in the mood for clothes right now. I'm sorry." Kathy got up from the table. "I should get going." "Don't wait. Tell Daniel the truth. He doesn't deserve to be treated like this." "That's exactly what I'm going to do now." "Thank you. You're the best friend in the world." The woman smiled sadly. With a heavy heart, Kathy waited for her husband's return from work. She realized that it was impossible to postpone the conversation and dreaded it. "Darling, I'm back." Daniel entered the living room with a small but very expensive bouquet of flowers. "I thought I'd treat you a little." He answered his wife's puzzled look, holding out the flowers. Just like that, no reason. "Come on, feed me." "Daniel." The woman put the bouquet in a vase and began to set the table. "I need to have a serious talk with you." "Can we save the serious talk for after dinner? I'm really tired." "Your talk, can it wait half an hour?" Kathy watched her husband eat in silence. He said something, even laughed, but the woman, immersed in her own thoughts, did not listen to him. "Kathy, was there something you wanted to talk about?" "Yes." Kathy woke up from her thoughts. "I went to the doctor again today, and I got the final report. I'll never be able to have any more children." "Is that definite yet?" Daniel frowned. Yes, they didn't give me even 1% out of 100 that a miracle would happen and I could get pregnant. I'm sorry. I'm a bad wife. Daniel got up, walked over to her, gave her a hug. You're the best, so we'll live together. There are many families like us and nothing. They live, even happy in their own way. But you dreamed of an heir. I dreamed of you. The main thing is to have you by my side. That's all I need. What are you doing up at the crack of dawn? Daniel asked, getting ready for work. I'm going to visit my mother and son. Kathy replied as she dressed. I haven't been there in 6 months, and the graves are overgrown with grass, so I need to clean them up. Why do you go there? How many times can you nurse a wound? Live in the present. Take care of the house. You wouldn't understand. Kathy replied, You haven't had him under your belly for 9 months. Do you think I'm callous? You think I've forgotten him? You're wrong. Maybe I suffer more than you, but I don't show it. What was it like for me, burying our little son? You're lucky you didn't even see him. You can't imagine how I felt at that moment. I'm sorry. Kathy burst into tears. Daniel put his arms around her and held her tightly against him, comforting her. I can't help it. I'm drawn to it like a magnet. Aren't you afraid you'll go crazy soon? What kind of person in their right mind behaves like that? I understand celebrating an anniversary, but not every month. You go there like you go to work. Why don't you do something useful or go out with your girlfriends? Why don't we make a reservation at a restaurant? We haven't been out in a while, or we could go to the countryside, you know? Sorry, I'm not in the mood. Should I lock you up? I can't stand to see you torturing yourself. Don't bother me, please. It's where I calm down. Kathy knew in her heart that her husband was right, but she was drawn to the last refuge of mother and son. She put on her household gloves, squatted by her mother's grave, and wiped the monument with a cloth. It's been a long time since I've been to your place. The woman mumbled as she began to clean up the grass. She concentrated on pulling weeds and tried not to think about anything. Well, it's good to be clean again. Now I'll go to my son, and you stay here. Hello, my darling. Kathy bent down to her son's grave. She threw the wilted flowers out of the vase and put fresh ones in. You would have been 5 years old today. She stroked the black granite monument, shivering from the cold. Mom remembers you. I'm sorry I didn't keep you safe. Sleep well. The woman stood silently by the small mound. From the outside, she looked strange, all in black, thin, with a pale face, haggard with mental anguish. She looked much older than her years. The habit of speaking to the graves of mother and son in the cemetery, which had appeared in recent years, horrified Daniel. Time passed, and Kathy's mental health did not recover. Her life, like a metronome, monotonously, joylessly counted down the days. Her heart suffered from night dreams, which appeared to her if she did not come to her son for a long time. No, she could not even imagine the child's face, but from behind the vision was so clear that the woman woke up in tears, and in the morning went to the cemetery. Kathy, the woman heard one day, on her way out of the cemetery grounds. Hello, have you come to see your people? Clara, hello. She greeted the older woman, Ethan's mother, warmly. What brings you here? I buried my husband a year ago. I came to visit. I'm sorry, I didn't know Ethan's father had died. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. If it wasn't for my grandson, I don't know how I'd have gotten through all this. Olivia had a boy? Yeah, he's your age. You had a baby with her at the same time. Yes. I didn't know. Look what a nice little boy we have growing up. The woman took out of her purse a photo of a smiling 5-year-old boy and handed it to Kathy. He's beautiful. And he's so smart. Ethan wasn't like that at his age. Kathy almost fainted when she saw the picture. Her heart raced. There was something painfully familiar in the boy's features. Tears came to her eyes. No, she thought, my baby would probably look like him, for he is Ethan's son too. Oh, Kathy! Clara came to her senses. I'm sorry, you stupid fool. I was so happy I forgot you'd lost your baby. Don't kill me like that. You and your husband are still young. You'll have a baby. Baby, it's such a happiness. Kathy smiled sadly at the woman and hurried away. She knew that she would never have this happiness. Olivia, where have you been again? Ethan grudgingly watched as his wife, smiling stupidly and looking at him with eyes dazed from alcohol, took off her shoes in the hallway. At the club, where else? Did you miss me, darling? Isn't it a little late for you to go clubbing? You're not a girl. Aren't you ashamed to insinuate my age? By the way, I'm still young. What's your problem anyway? I came home a little drunk, so what? I'm not a nursing mom. It's the middle of the night and you're out somewhere. The baby wouldn't go to bed without you. What's wrong? You can't put your own son to bed. Are you used to your wife always being home? And I wanted a party, I have the right. Couldn't you do without me for one night? You're a mother, didn't your heart pound? Didn't you worry about your son? And you're a father. Olivia parried. She came close to her husband and kissed him. He smelled the scent of expensive men's cologne and wine. The boy needs a father more than a mother. By the way, I didn't say that. I gave him to you. I raised him for 5 years. Now it's your turn. Why are you picking on me? She pouted her lips in resentment. Can't I have at least one night a year to relax the way I want to? I'm sick of diapers, cradles, baby tears. But that doesn't mean you have to come home at midnight. Well, I'm sorry. I wasn't looking at my watch. It was so much fun out there. The time flew by. Me and the girls had a lot of fun. You've changed a lot lately. What's going on? Nothing's going on, she shrugged. We were on vacation with some friends. Do you know how tired I am of sitting at home? The same thing every day. I want to change. I miss it so much. Okay, take your clothes off. I don't want my son to see you like this. At least let me know if you're going to be late. I'm worried. Okay, I'm going to bed. She waved her hand and disappeared into the bedroom. I don't think you love our son. Ethan reprimanded her as she lay in bed. You were doing something with the little one, but now you don't pay any attention to him, and he's bored. Don't make it up. In a sleepy voice, Olivia assured him. Just because I don't coddle him doesn't mean I don't love him. He needs a stern man's upbringing. I can see he's bothering you. What has he ever done to you? You never kiss him. You never caress him. You just yell at him, and he's so attracted to you. What's wrong with you? You were a great mom, weren't you? Leave me alone. The woman waved me away irritably. I'm tired. I want to sleep. How many times can you teach me? I know how to behave with my son. I don't need your advice. A week later, Ethan received a message that made him furious. Who's that? He shoved the phone under his wife's nose. Who's the guy in the picture next to you? Just a guy I know. She replied nonchalantly. Why are you freaking out? Why are you freaking out? I find out that my wife is cheating on me, and you pretend that nothing happened. What do you think? A light flirtation. No binding relationship. I thought I'd diversify our relationship a little bit. Are you crazy? What's wrong with you? I go out of my way to provide for you and Hunter, and you're in bed with another man. Aren't you ashamed in front of your son? What's wrong with me? You're one to talk. Olivia snorted contemptuously. Have you forgotten how you slept with your Kathy? I was pregnant then. Forget? I'll remind you. What, you don't like it? Feel how much it hurt. Did you think I wouldn't find out? You. Ethan turned pale. From where? Some kind people found her. Her mother called me and told me that you got Kathy pregnant too. And now you're claiming me. Fuck you. She's locked herself in the bedroom. Olivia, it was one time. On homecoming day. I was drunk. I don't remember how it happened. I've forgotten all about it. But I remember everything, shouted the woman. I'll never forget. You cheated on me. You didn't even have the courage to admit it. Confessed to nothing. Ethan said in despair. That night meant nothing to me. You mean you had no feelings for her? Are you an animal? Just looking for someone to sleep with? God, you can't understand. I had nothing with her. Just that night. I've only had one night with this guy. What? Did I hurt your feelings? Oh yeah, you know, hurt a man's ego. Why are you taking revenge on me now, after all these years? Isn't it a little late? It's fine. You can humiliate me, curse me, but what about my son? Why are you punishing him with indifference? Or are you taking revenge for being mine? Don't twist things around. He has nothing to do with it. Lying in bed, Olivia thought back to the day she found out about her husband's infidelity. Why are you telling me all this? Ethan couldn't cheat on me. He loves me. But the conversation was interrupted by a short beep. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. He's not like that. We're about to have a baby. A sharp pain in her lower abdomen made the woman bend. A trickle of blood trickled down her legs. Daddy. With trembling hands, she dialed her father's number. Daddy. She cried into the receiver, Benjamin. Come to me urgently, my baby, my baby. I'm afraid, Daddy. I feel so bad. Don't cry, daughter. I'll be right there. Just don't hang up. I'll call the hospital. They'll come to you right away. Father ran down the corridor, followed by the doctors, and on the gurney lay pale Olivia with an IV in her hand. Dad, are they gonna save my baby? Will they? It's gonna be okay. Don't worry, sweetheart. This clinic has the best doctors in the world. I can't lose him, do you understand? I need him, this baby. You won't lose him, Benjamin assured me. No miracle happened, and the doctor's verdict was still in my ears. Olivia, girl, there was nothing we could do. We had to terminate the pregnancy. You were in danger. You had lost a lot of blood. The baby, with such blood loss, was doomed. Olivia, my daughter. Benjamin looked anxiously at his daughter. Don't kill yourself. They were saving you. And what to do? I dreamed so much about this child, and now I have to wait again to get pregnant. What am I gonna tell Ethan? Ethan's a smart man. He'll figure it out. I'm sorry, but I have to tell you that you can never be a mother. I'm telling you this now so you don't have any illusions. Daddy, how's that? Why? A lot of women have abortions, they miscarry, and then they're pregnant again. Am I any worse? But not in your case, you were too far along. Don't worry, the doctor says you can always take a little one from an orphanage or go to a surrogate. There are so many options today. Are you out of your mind? I want my baby, okay? Mine. What am I gonna tell my husband? What's a family without children? She grabbed the doctor's arm. I'm begging you. Ethan mustn't know I've lost a child. Daddy, don't let anyone dare say I've lost him, or I'll. She collapsed on the pillow and sobbed. Daughter, don't even think about dying. We still have to tell your husband about the miscarriage. He has to know the truth. No, don't you dare, or I won't be able to take care of myself. You have to realize we can't keep this from him much longer. Not now, please. While he's away on business, I'll tell you when he gets back. Dad, do something. I'm begging you. Your daughter's family is on the verge of disaster. What is there to do? I'd give anything to make you happy, but there's nothing money can do. Olivia couldn't stay in the ward. She went to the hospital park, sat on a bench and cried. Woman, can I help you? Someone's hand rested on the woman's shoulders, shuddering with sobs. She raised her head. Olivia? What's wrong? What happened? She jumped up, shoved her fist painfully into Daniel's chest. It was him. It's your wife's fault. You snake. I lost my baby because of her. I hate her. I don't see what Kathy has to do with this. Sit down and tell me. Calm down. How can I calm down? Her mom called and told me that Kathy's having Ethan's baby. And you didn't know. I knew. Kathy told me right away. And you forgave her? Married her knowing she was pregnant with another man's child. Of course I love her. I had to accept her as she was. And I was stupid to be happy that he loved me. I didn't even look at the others. I was faithful. But she cried again. We had a good night out. I don't get it, Kathy. When her mother, Wendy, called, I had a miscarriage. I was pregnant too, with my husband's baby, not another man's. And now I'm never gonna have kids. Why would Ethan want me childless? He'll leave me the first chance he gets. Kathy, you ruined our family. What are you doing? Getting all hot and bothered? Your Ethan won't leave you. If he wanted to, he'd have left a long time ago. How many opportunities have there been? And Kathy hasn't given you any reason not to trust her. Aren't you afraid he'll turn on her? He's gonna find out she's carrying his baby sooner or later. Do you think Kathy would stay with you if he beckoned her? I doubt it. We'd both be fools. What am I supposed to do? Drown myself? Why should I live without him? Wait for drowning. Daniel thought for a moment. There must be a way out. There is. Olivia lowered her voice to a whisper, looking around. We can switch the baby. I don't care whose baby it is, as long as my husband doesn't find out he's not the father. I've got it all figured out. What's the time difference with Kathy? I don't know, a month or two. What's it to you? What was it supposed to be? A son? Why are you giving me riddles? You see, I don't like raising someone else's child. It'll always remind me of the affair. And you said you forgive me. Olivia grinned. Do not cling to the words. I dream of my own. If you are ready for a switch, how would we arrange that Kathy child, she is also waiting for a son, became yours? Let's restore some justice, so to speak. Let the boy be brought up by his father. He doesn't even know about him. I'm willing to sign any papers to keep the whole story quiet. And what do you want for that? Olivia wiped away her tears. Nothing. Just to get rid of the baby. If it works out, everybody wins. You get the baby and I get rid of him without blood and tears. The father gets his son. Only your wife will lose. Olivia grinned evilly. Serves her right. Don't hang on other men's husbands. She took my son and I'll take her. In a year's time, she'll get pregnant again and have my child, and everyone will be happy. And make sure I never see or hear from you or your husband again. And in fact, let's pretend we don't know each other. You don't have to worry about that. The only thing is, how do we do this discreetly? We'll need a doctor's help, but I don't think any of them would agree to a forgery. Don't worry. The woman's got her spirits back up. The doctor I had my baby with is a friend of my father's. We'll arrange for Kathy to go to him for the delivery. He'll do everything before anyone knows I've lost the baby. I'll pretend I'm still pregnant. My dad will arrange for me to stay at the clinic. It's easier to hide the loss of the baby. You'll let me know when you're due, and the rest will be up to the doctor. Are you sure? We won't get burned. You guarantee it. Can you trust him? He'll do anything for me, and if he doesn't want me, I'll get my dad involved. So, are you ready to write a waiver right now? I can't wait to see our contract signed. Let's do it this way. I'm actually waiting for my wife to come home from counseling. I'll take her home and call you, and in the meantime, you find out what's going on. If the doctor doesn't agree, then it's not worth it. I don't want to risk it. Kathy won't forgive me if he finds out what we're up to. Don't worry, no one will find out. They went their separate ways, and 2 hours later, they were sitting in the chief of staff's office. Daniel, do you realize what you're setting me up for? The doctor was horrified by Olivia and Daniel's plan. If any information leaks out, I'll go to jail. It's a crime. It's a crime to make me childless. The woman said, "It's okay. We'll grow up. He'll be no worse than anyone else. He will not go to a foreign family, but to his own father." Don't you feel sorry for Kathy? She's been dying to lose a child for a while. Think of what she's going through. Was she sorry when she was screwing my husband? I guess she didn't realize she was hurting me. It's okay. Let her feel what it's like to lose a child. Do you have any idea what would happen if the forgery came out? We'd all go to jail. If you don't tell us, no one will ever hear from us. Daniel, are you sure you're ready to give up your unborn child? You bet I am. I don't want a living reminder of my wife's infidelity. I dream of my hair, and I'm determined. Don't you feel sorry for your wife? She'll cry, she'll cry, she'll stop crying. I'll do my best to make Kathy forget about the child as soon as possible. Think about it. You're saving 2 families from destruction. Yeah, but at what cost? Taking a mother's son away from her? That's inhumane. I don't know. I'm not ready to take that step. It will be your fault if Ethan leaves me. Olivia screamed hysterically, and he'll leave me when he finds out I can't bear him in hair. For my father's sake, for the sake of your friendship, help me. I want to be happy too. Does Benjamin know what you're up to? Naturally, and he supports me in everything I do. His daughter's happiness is more important to him than anything else in the world. Mind you, your risks will be generously paid for. All right, the doctor has given up. But swear you won't back down at the last minute and keep it a secret. I don't want to lose my job. You don't have to worry about that. We both have a vested interest in silence. Where are we going to get proof that the baby died? I'll take care of the death certificate, but you'll have to bury the baby in the cemetery. I'll take care of that. Daniel looked seriously at Olivia. An inconsolable mother should be able to say goodbye to her son. Everything should look natural. I can't imagine what Kathy will do to you if she finds out the truth. The doctor said thoughtfully, "You are a frightful man. She will not find out the truth. I protect the interests of my family. Shall we make a deal?" Daniel extended his hand to the doctor, who shook it. Olivia was satisfied, smiling triumphantly. "Here it is. Pay back for the sin I committed 5 years ago. They say God sees who offends whom, and what a dear price I will have to pay for my deception." The woman thought when she heard the diagnosis. "Olivia, I'm being completely honest with you. Uterine cancer is a scary and insidious disease. Unfortunately, surgery is not an option. Treatment must begin immediately. Is 2 days enough to take care of everything? After that, there will be a long and difficult path of treatment and rehabilitation. You'll be in the hospital for a long time. I'll be fine." On stiff legs, the woman left the office and sat down on a chair in the corridor. Fear squeezed her heart with a merciless hand. It became difficult to breathe, and tears flowed and flowed from her eyes. "A woman?" asked on the way a nurse who ran past. "Do you need any help?" "No, thank you. No one can help me now," she thought. She got up and walked to the exit, dialing a number on the way. "Kathy?" she asked in a shaky voice. "It's Olivia. We need to talk. It's urgent. When can we meet? What do we have to talk to you about?" Kathy was surprised. "I have a confession to make about you and Ethan. Come on tonight after work, although I don't see what Ethan and I have to do with each other. It's been a while. Don't say no. It's a matter of life and death. I'll call you and tell you where I'll be waiting. There's no forgiveness for me. I must confess what I've done." Olivia said on the way home, "If I'm going to die, I want to get the stone off my soul. Did I think then that the boomerang of fate would catch up with me and I would be so cruelly punished? But how will I tell her that I stole her son? How will I explain that I colluded with her husband?" The woman fumbled around the apartment, not knowing what to hold on to. "No, I can't tell her. I'm afraid to see the hate in her eyes, to hear her curse at me. She won't forgive me anyway, and I don't need her forgiveness. The main thing is to get the boy back to his real mother. What do I do? There must be a way out. Stop!" She stopped abruptly. "I'll write a letter. That's right. I'll write a letter now and give it to her when I see her. I'll ask her to open it when I go to the hospital. That's right, not before. Just a page of handwriting." Olivia grinned bitterly, half an hour later, rereading the letter. And therein lies my sin and Kathy's happiness. Now I must call Daniel. I will explain everything to him. He'll understand that I can't do otherwise. "Olivia?" Daniel was surprised to hear from her, as they hadn't seen each other since that memorable day. "Did something happen? Didn't we agree to keep our acquaintance private?" "Daniel, I can't keep quiet anymore. I've decided to tell Kathy." "Wait, what do you mean you've decided to tell her?" "We swore we'd keep it quiet." "I'm sorry, circumstances have changed." "What circumstances?" Daniel was furious. "Have you forgotten how I saved you from the loony bin? And now you've decided to dump me? You promised me that Ethan or his little brat would never show up on my horizon again. Everything was fine, and now what? I'm gravely ill. I may not have much time left in this world. I don't want to leave with the guilt of your wife. If you've decided to destroy your family, I won't talk you out of it. But leave us alone. Leave me out of this. I'm not going to repent. You can't stop me. I've written a letter to Kathy and arranged to meet her today. I can't keep the secret any longer. I feel my illness, payback for the crime. Olivia, what are we doing on the phone?" Daniel was on edge. He wanted to strangle Olivia, but he decided to try to talk her down. "Why don't we meet like good old friends? We'll sit in a cafe. I'll buy you a coffee and we'll talk about it. I know you're not yourself right now. We'll think together how to resolve our situation with dignity, so no one gets hurt. Tell me where to meet you. You can't talk me out of this," Olivia said, getting into Daniel's car when he picked her up at her house an hour later. "I've thought it over. Don't you think we should make decisions like this together? Aren't you afraid you'll suffer the same fate? I'm sure the illness is punishment for a mistake I made. Tell me the heavens are angry with you. Don't be ridiculous. Are you really going to tell my wife everything as it is? Your wife and my husband?" "Yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I can't tell her to her face. I wrote a letter." "Is the letter with you?" "With me. You wouldn't believe it, but I felt so much better. I've only just realized what you and I have done. How could I ever think of taking a baby away from its mother? And you, what have you done with your wife's life? I saw her at the cemetery the other day, more beautiful in her coffin. None of your business. Give me the letter, I'll see what you wrote. The truth. Everything as it was. I don't believe you'd do that. Is he bluffing? What do you want? Money, how much? I have a good business, I can share it. How much is your silence worth today? I'm not interested in money. I'm determined to get my child back to her mother. And here, she waved the letter in front of Daniel's nose. A confession. Give it to me now. He tried to grab the envelope. I won't. And anyway, where are we going? Out of town. You don't want anyone to see us together, remember? We don't know you. Watch the road. Slow down. What's wrong? Did you change your mind about dying? He's speeding up on purpose to tease her. Give me the envelope. Even if you take the envelope from me, I'll still open Kathy's eyes. Let her know what kind of monster she's been living with for so many years. Do you think she'll stay with you after all this? One phone call, one letter, and the myth of a happy family life will fall apart. Oh, you little bitch, are you blackmailing me? Daniel only took his eyes off the road for a moment to snatch the letter from Olivia's hands, but it was his fatal mistake. Hey, the woman screamed, instinctively covering her head with her hands. At breakneck speed, the car flew into the oncoming lane. Daniel tried to turn the steering wheel. The side wheels caught the edge of the asphalt. Gravel burst out from under them. The car was thrown up. A split second later, the car collapsed to the ground. The wheels were still spinning frantically, humming. Get an ambulance, police, firemen. Immediately, a crowd gathered. People tried to pull the injured out of the car lying on the roof. But Olivia and Daniel did not see or hear it. Their bloody bodies were lying on the roadside, waiting for the police to arrive. The terrible accident had happened just a few minutes ago on a country highway. Kathy leaned back tiredly in her chair and almost dozed off, listening to scraps of phrases from the news. According to eyewitnesses, the culprit was the driver of a foreign car who had swerved into the oncoming lane of traffic. Apparently, the speed was too high because the car was thrown into the air. According to preliminary data, there were 2 people in the foreign car, a man and a woman. Both are dead. Their identities are being established. Suddenly, the phone rang. Hello. Shaking off her drowsiness, the woman spoke. Kathy, you need to come over for identification right away. I'm sorry, but according to our information, your husband was killed in a traffic accident. We need to make a positive identification. Wait, you're wrong. The husband should be at work right now. He wasn't going anywhere. We found an ID in your husband's name in the victim's car. Only you can confirm or deny our assumptions. So come on down. There's been some kind of horrible mistake. Kathy stared at the phone in confusion, where short beeps were heard. This can't be true. Daniel is a good driver. What would he be doing on the country highway? Maybe he loaned his car to someone. That would explain the ID. I'll call him now and find out. The woman dialed Daniel's number. The subscriber's phone is switched off or out of range. A mechanical voice said, No, it's not him. Definitely not him. She packed quickly, hailed a cab, and headed for the morgue. Ethan? Kathy was surprised to see her former classmate at the entrance to the dingy gray building. What are you doing here? Probably the same as you. I'm here for the lineup. My wife, she was in your husband's car. How? Do they know each other? I didn't know. Neither did I. Maybe it was an accident. Come on, they're waiting for us. Kathy opened the door with determination. Come in. A stern-looking pathologist was watching the lineup closely. Are you ready? I'm ready. She still couldn't believe that under the white sheet with the license plate on his leg lay her husband, but it was too late to back down. "Daniel," she whispered, seeing her husband's pale face. The woman swayed. Ethan supported her under her arm. "Now you." The man turned to Ethan and pulled back the sheet. "Yes." In a husky voice, he said, "This is my wife, Olivia. Come with me. I'll give you the dead men's belongings." Both were given small boxes. The man and the woman went outside. "Kathy, are you going home?" "Yes, although, to be honest, I don't want to go back, and the house is huge, and now without Daniel, it's empty. We dreamed of having a big family, but it didn't work out." "Kathy," Ethan stopped. "It's good to see you. I'm sorry we met under such sad circumstances. It was good to see you, too. How long has it been since we've seen each other?" 5 years? "Yes, 5 years." The woman opened the car door. "I'm sorry. I have to go. I should go, too. My son's waiting for me at home. I have to tell him somehow that my mom's gone. You're lucky you have a son, and I have a son." Kathy hurriedly got in her car and drove off. "Kathy?" She stood by the fresh mound of flowers and stared at her husband's portrait, unconcerned. "If you need anything, call me. Don't be shy. Shake her hand, Daniel's friends." "Thank you." Like a robot, the woman responded to condolences. "How young?" The acquaintances shook their heads sympathetically. His business was so strong, so promising, but it just rose and burned down at its peak. Business partners were saddened. Heaven takes the best, and your husband, Kathy, was a reliable man. She longed to be left alone to think in silence about her life. Unnoticeably in the troubles of organizing the funeral, wake, registration of documents, 40 days passed. Kathy thought with horror how she would survive the necessity to gather again all these unfamiliar and completely unknown people who would again say something about her husband. She didn't want to see anyone. Why all the speeches, the wake, if the man was gone? She asked Lisa. It was the custom. She shrugged her shoulders. The question I'm most interested in is how Olivia ended up in the same car as my husband. I don't think we'll ever know. She asked me to meet her. Kathy suddenly remembered. I wonder what she wanted to tell me. The woman hardly waited until the end of the dinner, respecting the propriety, said goodbye to everyone, thanking them for their sympathy for her grief. She gave orders to the waiters and hurried home. Kathy, a representative man in a strict business suit approached her. May I give you a ride home? I'd appreciate it. She said yes and got into a brand new black Jeep. Kathy realized that this gentleman had something serious to say to her. Otherwise, he would not have offered to help her. What do you want from me? She asked directly. Your husband has a huge business, and you are the sole heir to his fortune. Why should a fragile woman take on the headache? Besides, as far as I know, you've never taken any interest in your husband's business. Is there anything in particular you'd like to offer me? I'd like to buy your business and give you a quiet life and keep you out of danger. What makes you think I'm in any danger? Because, fair lady, your husband's business is a tidbit for all those who have assured you today of their readiness to help you if you have any difficulty. Why should I believe you? You have no other choice. I have no reason to deceive you. I'll give you a good price. Not at a loss, I admit, but I'll buy your whole business so you don't have to sell it off piecemeal. If you turn me down, your husband's former partners will swoop in and start tearing your business apart, and everyone will try to get their hands on you, and believe me, you won't be able to resist them. What if I don't want to sell? Then they'll use some less than legal methods. You know what I'm talking about. Kathy went cold when she realized what I was saying. And none of them will discount the fact that you just lost your husband. They don't give a damn about you. Nothing personal, just business. They're bargain hunters. They're used to making a profit. Had I convinced you? I can expect to be able to buy your husband's business in 6 months when you inherit it. To be honest, I decided to sell everything at once. Kathy said, looking out the car window. Raindrops slowly dripped down the window. Nature mourned with her for her husband, her failed family life, the loneliness that already had an iron grip on her. I want to get away from here. It's hard to come to a house where we were happy in our own way with my husband. I hope I can make a fresh start. That's great. Stopping in front of the house, the man said, Then I'll contact you myself or send my lawyer. Kathy entered the house. She was stunned by the ringing silence. To break it, the woman turned on some music, undressed, and got into bed. No more souring. She said to herself in the morning, It is time to put the house in order. It is necessary to collect her husband's things and give them to some social service. What if someone could use them? She had a quick breakfast and started cleaning. Going through the papers in her husband's study, she came across a box that had been given to her after Daniel's death. I wonder what's in there, she said, lifting the lid. A watch, the face broken. I gave it to him last year. Wallet, bank cards, money, everything is there. What's this envelope? She twirled it in her hands in surprise, a white mailing envelope with no address, blood caked on one side. Who was it intended for, this unsent letter? Kathy cut open the envelope with a paper knife and pulled out a triple-folded piece of paper. Kathy, she read it. Strange, a letter for me? But from whom? She glanced at the signature. Olivia? Kathy, I didn't have the heart to tell you to your face that I'm a vile creature. I ruined your life. Now I'm trying to make some kind of excuse to you, even though I realize I'm unforgivable. 5 years ago, I robbed you of your son. I know how crazy I sound, but I was driven by revenge at the time. I couldn't forgive you for sleeping with my husband. I lost my child. I was sure Ethan wouldn't stay with me. He wanted an heir. I couldn't give it to my husband anymore. The doctors diagnosed infertility. And then we met Daniel. He didn't want to put up with your infidelity either, even though he assured you otherwise. Somehow we agreed to have your son registered in my name. At that time I thought I was doing everything right, protecting my family, but one day you have to pay for your mistakes. I'm very sick right now. I don't know if I can make it. But in the eyes of God, I'm gonna try to make it right. I know Ethan won't forgive me. I've done too much wrong. At least try to understand me now. I've been a good mother, but I haven't been able to forget who son Hunter really is. He's yours and Ethan's. Forgive me if you can, and try to be happy. I sincerely wish it for you. Olivia. Hunter. My boy's name is Hunter? Kathy rushed like crazy to get dressed. I'm going to see him at once. I don't know how that's possible. She dropped everything and went to Ethan's. You? He exhaled when he saw her on the doorstep. I wasn't expecting that, but I'm glad. Come in. I really wasn't expecting guests today. I didn't come to visit. Kathy, worried, entered the living room. I brought a letter to read, your wife's confession. She handed him a letter. Read it, and then we'll have to decide what to do about it. This. The man was speechless when he read the letter. Are you sure it's the truth? Would a man who might be on death's doorstep lie to himself? That's why your wife was in Daniel's car. I wouldn't give Olivia's confession so much credence. Yes, she's changed lately. Yeah, she's been cold to Nate. But how did they set it up? I think Olivia's father had something to do with it. I don't think they'd do the forgery without Benjamin's support. Benjamin won't be able to find out anything. He had a stroke right after Olivia's funeral. What are you suggesting? I want to see my son. Wait, I'm not gonna let you traumatize his psyche. He just lost his mother, and you show up. In fact, I need proof that you're his mother. A letter written by Olivia in some obscure state of mind is not proof. You want me to take a DNA test? I'll do it. Immediately. I have nothing to hide. I want to prove that Hunter is my son. They immediately went to the clinic, took the tests. Kathy couldn't bear to wait for the results. A few days later, they met again. Kathy, I congratulate you. The probability that you are Hunter's mother is over 99%. Ethan stood there like a thunderstruck man. Kathy broke into a smile. I knew it. I felt it was my boy. You can't fool a mother's heart. I felt him the day your mother showed me his picture. I recognized my features in him, but it seemed wild to me then. They left the clinic together. Shall we go to the cafe? Ethan suggested. We have a lot to talk about. What are we going to do? I want to raise my son. It'll be hard for you to handle him. You're a man. I want to feel like a real mother. You can't deny me that. I hope we can work this out between us without lawyers. I have to think this through. I have to do the paperwork. What's to think about? I just want to see my son. You can't deny me that, can you? No, not today. My head's still a mess myself. I have to talk to him, explain it to him somehow. Here's what we'll do. Tomorrow we'll meet at my house. You'll talk to him. You don't know if he'll be able to take you in. All right. Kathy agreed, though she wanted to hug her son with all her heart, but she realized Ethan's reasoning was correct. I'm sure Hunter will accept me, not right away, of course, but at least I'll be near him. The next day, the woman bought a huge, soft teddy bear and went to visit. Come in. Ethan stepped aside, letting her into the house. We're waiting for you. Hello, little one. Kathy looked at the exact replica of Ethan. Curls of hair just like hers were neatly combed. The boy eyed his unfamiliar aunt warily. She held out the bear to him and smiled broadly. The little boy smiled back and accepted the toy. Kathy did not make an attempt to hug him, afraid to scare him. She decided not to rush things. You're doing great, Ethan praised her. I was afraid that you wouldn't stand up to him and rush to hug him. He invited her to the table, their son playing nearby. After a while, the child sat freely on Kathy's lap, and she stroked his hair fondly and inhaled the unique scent of childhood. I should probably go, the woman said hesitantly. The baby needs to go to bed too. Will you come again? Hunter asked hopefully, looking at his mother with brown eyes. Do you want her to stay with us forever? Unexpectedly, Ethan blurted out. The boy jumped up, clapped his hands, and then hugged Kathy's legs. She picked the child up, held him to her, kissed him, and cried. Why are you crying? Smiling, Ethan asked. Go put your son to bed. I'll set the table. 15 minutes later, the woman returned, a happy smile wandering on her face. He fell asleep, she said. I had to remember the fairy tales I read as a child. He's very curious. That's what your mother used to say.